What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:19 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Iran. I wanted to update you guys on the situation with Iran. So interestingly, right now we have a U.S. aerial refueler that is looping over the stealth bomber base, Whiteman Air Force Base. Check this out. It was just flying very low, very close to Whiteman Air Force Base. That's the home of U.S. B-2 stealth bombers, which were famously used to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities last year. So I don't know if the Trump administration is preparing to bomb Iran. Also, last night we had two aerial refuelers fly over Whiteman Air Force Base, also doing loops and flying really slow. And last night we also had what sounded like a bomber radio check with mainsail, which is the dispatcher, if you will, for the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency. So bombers doing radio checks last night and multiple aerial refuelers last night over the bomber base, Whiteman Air Force Base, and today as well. We also had two presidential doomsday planes fly around Offutt Air Base, which is the home of U.S. Strategic Command. That's like the brain of the U.S. military. And what was very unusual about that was that they were following each other. You can see they made this massive rectangle over Iowa. They typically don't do that. And one of them took off from Washington, D.C., and then the other one took off from Stratcom HQ. They met midair over Indiana, and they followed each other back towards Offutt Air Base, and then they did this massive rectangle, which is very, very unusual. But to have two of these planes up in the air at the same time is very strange. And even stranger, the fact that they were following each other. And these planes are for the U.S. President and the Defense Secretary, so they can command the entire U.S. military from the air if there's any kind of nuclear war or some kind of catastrophic situation. They're safer in the air than they are in bunkers, believe it or not, because all of our enemies know where our bunkers are. So in a catastrophe, they would be scrambled to the air on these doomsday planes. They also use them to transport the defense secretary and the president and VIPs between bunkers. And we have some major breaking news coming in today. So Iran announced that they seized two vessels that attempted to pass through the Strait of Hormuz today. The ships were the MSC Francesca, which has Israeli links, and the Epaminondas, which have both been transferred to Iranian waters until further notice. So Iran has seized two new vessels, and we're hearing that three vessels were fired upon today as well. So here you can see attack warning. This was earlier this morning. It says the UK MTO has received a report of an incident 15 nautical miles northeast of Oman. The master of a container ship reported that the vessel was approached by one IRGC gunboat. No radio challenge then was fired upon, which caused heavy damage to the bridge. No fires or environmental impact reported. All crew is safe. Okay, so they were fired upon. Their containers were fired upon. No radio communication whatsoever. This gunboat just came out of nowhere, okay? And obviously they're trying to terrorize all the ships that are going through this area to scare them so they don't go through, okay? And so this was one of three incidents today. And then remember, two ships were actually seized and three were fired upon, okay? And then here's another ship that was fired upon. This was at 06:38 UTC time. The UK MTO received a report of an incident 8 nautical miles west of Iran. A master of an outbound cargo ship reports having been fired upon and is now stopped in the water. Crew are safe and accounted for. There is no reported damage to the vessel. Okay, and now we're also hearing that a third commercial vessel, the Euphoria, was struck by Iran as it attempted to cross the Strait of Hormuz, and it is now stranded in international waters. So, guys, Iran is really begging for it. Okay, Trump was nice enough to extend the ceasefire, and we have updates on that. I'm going to share that with you, but we're hearing now that apparently the ceasefire will last through Saturday, according to Israeli News 12. And Fox News is reporting that the ceasefire will be extended for another 3 to 5 days. Okay, so sometime this weekend, the ceasefire will end. So Trump is pushing it out through the weekend. Okay, so we could potentially see strikes this weekend, early next week, or even before then. We really don't know. Trump may not wait. Okay, especially if Iran is attacking ships. Okay, shooting at them, seizing them. Okay, seizing 2 ships today, shooting at 3. They're really begging for it. Okay, they're really trying to antagonize us. They want us to get involved. Okay. And according to Iran's state media, Tasnim News, Iran currently has no plans to negotiate with the U.S. before the ceasefire ends. And the Pentagon told Congress it could take up to 6 months to fully clear the Strait of Hormuz of mines reportedly deployed by Iran's military. Lawmakers were told that Iran may have emplaced 20 or more mines in and around the Strait of Hormuz. Some were floated remotely using GPS technology, which has made it difficult for U.S. forces to detect the mines as they were deployed. Okay, so we're not going to see a drop in fuel prices anytime soon. Okay, at least nothing major until they clear those mines, until Trump gets rid of the threat, first and foremost, gets rid of the IRGC so they don't attack ships passing through, okay? And according to multiple sources, the White House Secret Service directed reporters to the White House briefing room following a security alert. That was today. Very interesting. And U.S. intelligence officials say Iran retains significantly more military capability than publicly acknowledged by the White House and the Pentagon. According to sources, roughly half of Iran's ballistic missiles, much of its IRGC naval forces, and about 2/3 of its air force remain operational despite U.S.-Israeli strikes. Wow. And I want to read to you what Trump posted last night. He said that he has the entire Strait of Hormuz blockaded and closed. Okay, so Trump is confirming that the blockade is on still. And this is pretty interesting. Senator Lindsey Graham said he spoke with Trump about Iran today, and he said that the Hormuz blockade, or the blockade on Iran, really, because they're blockading all of Iran, could become a global blockade soon. So we don't know what that means. He said the Hormuz blockade could become global soon. I have no idea what that means, but that is very, very concerning. And here we have some new footage that was shared by Iran showing off one of their underground missile cities. Check this out. So despite all of the strikes, Iran still has a large amount of functioning ballistic missiles underground in these massive bunkers. Okay, these bunkers are like Cheyenne Mountain. I've showed you guys these bunkers on my live streams. If you tune into my live streams late at night, we go on Google Earth and I have a special map with all of these bunkers mapped out showing their locations. So if you ever want to see where these bunkers are located, tune into some of my live streams, okay? And you'll be able to get a look at how many there are. There's a lot, and conventional bombs are not going to destroy such a massive bunker. Look at how big this thing is. Look at this, guys. Okay, you're going to need tactical earth-penetrating nukes to really destroy something like this, or you're going to have to go in on the ground, okay, and seize control of these facilities on the ground, or if you do a total regime change, then you can get control of them as well. Okay, so very, very concerning. And this update was sponsored by MyPatriot Supply. Guys, MyPatriot Supply is doing a $100 discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com. The link is in the description down below. The normal price for their 3-month kit is $800, and they're selling it for $700. That's $700 for 3 months of emergency food, up to 2,000 calories per day for 3 months, and it has a shelf life of 25 years, all packed within rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. You don't have to monitor expiration dates. You don't need a massive place to keep all your food. You can fit all this food in a tiny closet in a studio apartment. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $100 off the MyPatriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. And Iran is threatening to hit regional power plants if the U.S. escalates, according to Fox News. So they're going to retaliate by hitting regional power plants. And the director of the International Energy Agency said the world is facing the largest energy crisis in its history. Wow, that is just absolutely insane. And Ali Gulhaki, analyst close to the Iranian government, said contrary to Trump's statement, there is a consensus at all levels of the country on the generalities and details of the ceasefire negotiations. So basically, when Trump said he was going to extend the ceasefire through the weekend, he said that supposedly there's different factions in the Iranian government, some that support the ceasefire, some that don't, and he's saying that he's going to give them until the weekend to come up with a unified response to the U.S.'s demands. But an analyst close to the government said that that's not true, that they're all already unified and they don't want to negotiate, okay? And an advisor to Iran's parliament speaker said Trump's ceasefire extension means nothing. The losing side cannot dictate terms. Wow. The continuation of the siege, he's talking about the blockade, is no different from bombardment and must be met with a military response. Moreover, Trump's ceasefire extension is certainly a ploy to buy time for a surprise strike. The time for Iran to take the initiative has come. Okay, so this is an advisor to one of the top negotiators with the U.S., the parliament speaker, saying that the U.S. is the losing side. Trump's ceasefire extension means nothing. They consider the blockade an act of war and that they're going to respond with military force, and that the ceasefire extension is just a ploy to buy time, okay, for a surprise attack on Iran. And by the way, the U.S. is still moving a large amount of aerial refuelers and military cargo planes to the Middle East every single day right now. Okay, they're going back and forth between Ramstein and Israel and Qatar and Saudi Arabia. So the buildup is continuing, okay? And Iran's Tasnim News, that's their state media, said that the continuation of a naval blockade amounts to continued hostility. As long as the blockade persists, Iran will at least not reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and if necessary, it will break the blockade by force. So they're talking about attacking U.S. ships, okay? And Iran's top joint military command warns of a powerful attack on predetermined targets in view of repeated threats by Trump. And IRGC senior officials did not allow an Iranian negotiating team to go to Islamabad yesterday to meet with U.S. negotiators, and rejected the content that Iranian negotiators discussed with the U.S. in the first round of talks. So it looks like the IRGC has taken over the Iranian government, which is really bad. They're like the Taliban. And the Prime Minister of Pakistan said that he asked Trump to extend the ceasefire to allow for more diplomacy. So it was really the Prime Minister of Pakistan that really begged Trump to extend it, okay? And speaking of the IRGC, they released this video of a pro-IRGC parade in Tehran where they were showing off some of their missiles. Okay, so, you know, the IRGC is still very active, very functional, and they're still a major threat, okay? And we're hearing that Iran is planning to go out with a bang if the conflict resumes. And word from two separate sources with direct access to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps meetings and communications report that if the conflict resumes, Iran is planning a single coordinated strike that could wipe out 30% of the global oil supply. The targets would include the Yanbu pipeline in Saudi Arabia, the Fujairah oil facility in the UAE, and a full closure of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait in coordination with the Houthis. Okay, so the Yanbu pipeline is really what's been supplying oil to the rest of the world right now. It's this massive pipeline that goes from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea through Saudi Arabia. Okay, it goes just west to east or east to west across the middle of Saudi Arabia, and it just brings oil across the Arabian Peninsula. If Iran were to strike that, then there's no oil at all coming from that area of the world, okay? And then there's this oil facility in the UAE that is responsible for producing a lot of oil as well, and then the Bab el-Mandeb. So all three of those together could wipe out 30% of the oil supply. Absolutely insane. And Trump's ceasefire extension in Iran will be short-lived unless a deal is reached quickly, according to Fox News, citing sources. The extension of the ceasefire was mostly out of respect to the Pakistani mediators. And that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with a video or live update. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the notification bell down below so you get notified when I post these updates. Also, I have a new X account because X suspended my account. Hopefully they'll reinstate it, but they've already rejected my first appeal. So please write a message to Elon Musk, tag him at Elon Musk, ask him to reinstate NYPrepper's account. I have a new one now, and it's at New York, and it's the at symbol New York Prepper 1. Okay, spelled out New York Prepper 1, at New York Prepper 1. My old one was at NYPrepper 1. Okay, that one's suspended, so I'll leave a link down below. But until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.